All right, today we are here chatting with Sarah Clancy,
Who
who
is
is
Sarah Clancy? Because
the
I had no idea when you said we were doing Sarah Clancy.
the founder of Sarah Marie Design
That's it.
Studio.
Like as soon as someone, I was like, we put it on the calendar, and I'm like, she's like, we're interviewing Sarah Clancy. I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, you set it up, and I was like, nah, I don't know anybody named
So
Sarah
familiar.
Clancy. I was like, and then she's like, Sarah Marie Design. I was like, oh, I know Sarah Marie. That's the one I
Mhm.
know. So, I mean, do you even go by Clancy normally, or are you just Sarah Marie?
No, I actually don't go by Sarah Marie. I go by Sarah, and it was one of those things where I was starting this, and I was like, I need a name, and everything I wanted was taken. Like trying to find a domain and trying to find a business name. It's very difficult.
Oh.
So it was one of those things where it's just like, I have to pick something, and we're just gonna use my middle name, and so it's Sarah Marie, and it started as Design Studio because I was doing a little bit of everything, like marketing. I was doing wedding invites. Any email I got, I was like, yeah, I can do that for you. So it's very generic, and I rebranded it to Sarah Marie Running Co. last year because the running thing is, where it's stuck. So
Well, it's crazy because I don't know how long ago it was, but it's been at least 5 years or so. I feel like when I first saw like a Sarah Marie Designs like shirt or something
mhm.
come up in my feed, and so I've been kind of following it ever since because I'm like, wow, that she's really turning this into a business here, and
Yeah.
I've watched it grow, and I'm like, I don't know what it just like a light went off. I was like, this is somebody that we see all over the running universe, but we've never talked to. And I was like, I want to know what's going on there.
Yeah, so before we dive into the whole like business side of things, because we're obviously super curious about that. Let's go like way back and like when did running come into your life?
Running came in, I guess, middle school. I did, track and cross country as a middle schooler, and then I actually did track and soccer in middle school, and then the cross country coach was like, you know what, you should do this in the fall, and they moved me up to varsity as an eighth grader, so I thought that was cool. So
Oh
then from
wow.
Wow.
there, like I got into it, and so it started then. And then I want to see it kind of died off in my 20s. I did a lot of running, but like I moved to this city in my early 20s, New York City, sorry. And then I picked it up a lot again when I was there first because it was, like a gym membership in the city's expensive. And I honestly loved being outside. And I was like, one thing I could do was just go for runs, like it was a great way to get out. And then I watched the New York City Marathon so many times. I was like, I gotta do this. So it kind of all happened at once. And then so that's kind of like the brief history of my running.
Where did you grow up?
Western New York, I grew up on a sheep
Okay.
farm about an hour south of
Oh.
Rochester, which
That's
is,
nuts.
yeah,
I actually do you know where New Lebanon is?
I don't.
Okay, it's up near Albany and that
Okay.
area, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
So it's, if you're looking like New York, it's like New York, Long Island, where I am now. And if you go all the way to the other side of New York State, that's where I grew up. So
Okay.
a lot of people know Geneseo. It's a SUNY school up there. I'm close to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot different from where I am now.
This is bizarre. Okay, I'm learning all sorts of things because for some reason I thought you were in North Carolina or South Carolina,
Nope.
right?
What
Right.
was it like growing up on a sheep farm?
It was fun. It was, I don't know. It was a lot of work. I have four sisters, so there's five girls.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Yeah, and so it was good. Like we
Five
also,
girls.
yeah, we also had
Your
horses,
parents don't
cows,
quit.
pigs, the whole thing. So yeah.
Yeah. And then what was the decision to move to the city?
So I slowly started, I guess, moving east. College, I went to Syracuse, so I moved,
Okay.
a little bit this way, and then I had roommates in college who, they had an apartment that they're, like let's all move to the city for a little bit. So we did that, and like it slowly, and then I met my husband in the city, and then we moved to Long Island because he's from here. So that's how it
Nice.
kind of progressed along.
Okay, awesome. And so when does Sarah Marie Designs, now Ronnie Co., when does this idea come and when does it get started?
So it kind of there was a bunch of things that were going on when it was starting. So a big thing that happened was I got pregnant and I was running a lot less. So with Daniel, who's my first child, like I was running, but like I didn't love running. Like I would do it occasionally, but I wasn't like, this is great. I loved running pregnant. That wasn't really my jam. And at the end of my pregnancy, the doctor was like, you should stop running.
Oh.
Like
Oh, wow.
he was measuring small and there were some health concerns. He's fine.
Sure.
It wasn't, but they're like, just as a precaution, like
Yeah.
minimize your activity. And so before I was pregnant with him, I was, doing triathlons. Like I'd get up in the morning, I'd go for an hour bike ride, I'd come home and I'd go run 13 miles. Like it was a huge chunk of my life.
Yeah.
And I went from doing that to not running. And I was like, I have like 2 to 3 hours a day. What am I going to do? So I started doing, drawings, and I also like always needed a creative outlet. So like I started drawing a lot more, and I just themed it around running things. So it just kind of, that's how it all started. And then at the time I also was an ambassador for Under Armour. So
Okay.
I had like a community that I was involved with. A lot of running, in New York City is awesome. So I had that, and I'd start making stuff, and people were like, "Oh, that's super cool. Where'd you get that?" I was like, "Oh, I made it." So here,
Sorry, Under Armour.
it was but again too, like that, it was when I got pregnant, and the Under Armour, like it was a year that I was an ambassador, and that ended, and then I was also pregnant, so this was a little bit after, but I also had those connections there. And so I ended up just throwing stuff up on like Redbubble and Society 6 and, like just random places that would print it. And that's kind of, I guess, how I was like, oh, maybe there is something here.
Yeah.
And it went
I
from
remember one of the first things that I remember seeing from you that I thought was really clever was your coffee mug. I don't know how long ago that was, the emoji coffee.
Yeah, it was the little running guy, and then the poo, or the coffee, and then
Yeah.
the poop.
Coffee, running, or wait, coffee, poop, run.
Yeah.
And-
Like, so many requests were like, can you just switch those up? And I was like, are you sure you want to? Like,
yeah.
but yeah, that was one of those ones, like I thought it was funny. It was,
Yeah.
emojis
How long
were
ago was it?
relatively new. Was
Yeah,
that-
how long ago was that? That was like a long time ago.
I remember, okay, so I time a lot of stuff like based on my kids. And I remember there was a picture I took of that with my son Daniel's hand in it, and he was a baby. And that was, so he must have been within a year old. So he's 8 now. So that was probably 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this goes back a ways. It's not like you just came onto the market and was like, hey, I'll throw some designs on. You've been doing this now for a while.
Almost, yeah. March will be 8 years, will be like the anniversary of it.
Oh,
so.
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you're obviously a very creative person and designer. What did you go to school for?
I went for school for advertising design. I went to Syracuse for that, and I worked in marketing for a while before. So again, like I never planned on, making t-shirts. I don't know if I had to do it all again. Like it wasn't like I was like, oh, you know what? I went to school for fashion. This is what I want to do. It just kind of serendipitously happened, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been,
Yeah, and I mean, you were into marketing, and I mean, 8 years ago, Instagram is just sort of taking off.
Yeah.
There wasn't even Strava wasn't even that strong at that point. So, you really had to hustle to get people. What's that?
It was also too, like Shopify was just getting started. I use Shopify. I think I came in at it was like if I came in now, my strategy would be totally different than what I came in, 8 years ago. And again, too, with the Instagram, like a lot of my designs 8 years ago were like, there were big white letters, and like it was because people would wear them and post them on Instagram. They were easy to read, and then it would drive traffic that way, which is much different now with the way it's going towards reels and like the different way the platforms move. Like I can't do the same stuff that was working then that it won't work now. So
Yeah.
it's a wild animal now.
What was one of the designs or pieces that you really feel like popped you into this, like made you into this space? Like
There was a few. There was one that said, kind of want to go for a run, kind of want to stay in bed. And that one was like that. That was on the Today Show.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was in, a few different magazines. Runner's World picked up, they did a story back, like again, when it started, and there were the designs that said run all the miles. It was like run all the miles, drink all the wine.
Yeah.
or run all the miles, eat all the tacos and stuff like that. And again, that was one where it's like it was bold white lettering, and if you put it on an Instagram picture, people are like, "Oh," and it would, drive traffic that way. So those were two of the designs in the beginning that were got me traffic. Yeah.
So when did it go from you putting up a design or someone being like, "Hey, this is cool," to you having an actual company selling clothing?
I don't know. I want to say quickly. Like it went, and again, too, things have changed where when I started it, I was printing stuff on demand through a third party. And I remember with that, it was like the quality wasn't there. And, the
Can't
turnaround
check
time
it.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was slow. And so for me, going from like that, like this is a fun hobby to it being a business, I want to say it happened relatively quickly. I don't know. Honestly, it's kind of look back, it's kind of a blur, but yeah, I like once it started picking up, I think I was like, I'm gonna dive into this because this seems like a fun thing to do. And so it just switched over and I was like, I feel like it's very much like how I am as a person. I was like, I decided to start running again. And I was like, you know what, I'm not just gonna do 5Ks, I'm gonna do a marathon. So I
Right,
feel like
all
these
the
started
way.
like that, where it's like, I'm not just gonna throw up some t-shirts, I'm gonna start a full-on business and dedicate my whole rest of my life to
Mm.
this. So
What's also crazy though is like, so I worked in the screen printing industry for a
mhm.
little while, and doing design and stuff like that. So when there's something gratifying about creating a piece of artwork, having it screened onto a piece of apparel that you can wear, but also you see other people are interested in wearing it. There's like, how excited do you get when there's a new design that you like that you can't wait till it gets back from the printer?
It's so hard. I mean, I'll print everything in house right now, so we don't have to
Oh
wait
wow.
too long. Yeah. So, um, it's like I usually will try and tease it on my Instagram or like because it's so hard to. And there's some where you're like, I think this is gonna work, and then there's some you're like, oh, I love this. I can't wait. And I think the best part is though is when you see someone else wearing it, where you're like,
Hmm.
there was like we'll go to an expo or go to a running event, and when we did the Disney hat, there was a few girls who were running in my shirts, and we all were like, "Hi, can we just? I want to say hi. You're like that's my design," and take pictures. That part is just amazing that like people will support and purchase stuff, and then to see them outside, like at races and stuff wearing it, it's amazing every time. I love it.
So do people associate you like when you see somebody at a race? Are they just going online and buying a shirt, or do they usually follow you on social or something so they have an idea who you are?
So it's usually it's a little bit of both. I think it's a lot of people follow. Again, just because when I started this, a lot of it was on social media. There's a lot of people who follow and they've watched me build this business and also seen my kids like grow up as I'm building this business. Like it wasn't like here is a business and it's the business side of things. There's a lot of like behind the scenes, and I'll go through old photos and I'll be like, oh my god, I here's a design I did, but also look at my son, he's like a baby in this picture. Like there's like timestamps along everything, and so I think it's really cool that the people who have been around and watched me grow this, like there's always like a special connection there too, because it's wild.
Does your husband help out, or is he like doing something else?
He does something else. He's got his own business as well, and he obviously helps out with the kids and stuff. So, but the business, like he's got his business and I've got my business. I will say though, there was a time that my business took over 2/3 of the house, and so he was very supportive in the fact that it was mostly work and very little home stuff happening here. So.
Wow. So you said that you're doing your in-house printing. Did you get like, a, I'm guessing that you have presses and
Yeah.
dryers and I don't, are you doing embroidery in-house too?
So I am dabbling. It's something we are looking into. I've like tried. I don't know that process. And again, too, like this is stuff I'm learning as I go.
Yeah.
So I did, we're working on that. That's in the mix for coming up. But like again, it's like to run a business and have 3 little kids and do all of this, it's like a lot where to learn a completely new design task it takes longer than if it was like me spending a week and just like drilling down and learning it. So
Yeah, and it's a craft. Like you have to make the screens, you burn the screens, get it out. Yeah,
yeah.
but the quality part I think is the toughest thing when you are relying on someone else because you have a vision of how you want your art to look on the garment or how it sits on the garment. So do you feel like you've gotten like really good at like figuring out like what works on what garment?
So it has been trial and error. Like there is it's a lot of figuring out what works. Colors are a big thing for me too, where it's like that's part of the fun part of the design process. I also find it some things I think I'm gonna love and will work. There is like previous buyers will tell me whether they like something or not too. So like quality wise, or if I think like there's a fabric that I think is going to work great, and like we'll test the printing and we'll make sure it works, and then people are like, oh, it's not as soft, or I don't like the women's cut, or like the sleeves aren't long enough. So I think a lot of it's the design part is one aspect of it, because a lot like I work on the designs and that, but the actual design of the apparel is a whole other animal where I'll be like, "Oh, this is great. Like this is I'd live in this." And people are like, "Nah, I
Yeah,
like
not so much.
not yet." And so it's
That's crazy.
a lot of like feedback too with a lot of the apparel.
I mean, that's we do a little bit of believe in the run merch and stuff like that, and I love hats the most
Mm.
because you don't have to worry about sizing. And it's like it's a hat, it's gonna fit most people's heads. But the when you do get like we're not doing the volume that you're doing, obviously, and then you've got to deal with customer service, returns, all that stuff. That's like I would think as busy as you are, that's like you got to have help. How many people are helping you with like all that stuff?
Um, me? No,
Oh no.
a lot of work. I have right now for the holidays, I have 2 girls in who are helping me print and ship. But as far as like customer service and designing and my accounting, like everything is mostly me right now.
Oh, wow.
So
Wait, you are doing, if it wasn't the holidays, you would be doing all of the fulfillment as well on your own?
so I do have a friend who comes in, and she's been helping me. She's been out a little bit because for personal reasons. So up until so it's me full time doing it, and then I have someone who was helping me part time. This year got a little tricky because she was out for a little bit, but so it's mostly me and then some part time help when I can.
Okay.
And then the holidays, because it is so busy, I've got some extra help around this time. But yeah, so
So
it's a
you
lot.
mentioned casually you were on the Today Show. First of all, how did that happen? And then was it like, did that not blow up and were you not like crazily trying to fulfill orders?
So I wasn't on it. My apparel was.
Okay.
Yeah, so it happened. It was some of my stuff was in women's health, and then from there it was on like they were doing a gift guide thing, and so it was
Okay.
pulled into a collection that they did a gift guide from. But yeah, it was awesome. Um, yeah, it was. I didn't know what to expect. I stocked stuff, and I was like, we'll see how it goes, and it was because again too, it's like you can't directly track that, like
Right.
someone will watch it and then it'll come around later, or a lot of things too. Like actually, I was in Runner's World for something, and that did because my stuff is very running specific.
Right.
Like if it's a more targeted audience, I find it does better than if it's a generic, you
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
publication.
So that's curious to me. Like, have you seen like when you say it's you get excited when you see somebody wearing the gear? Have you seen any of like pro runners or people that you like weren't expecting to see it? Or I guess you see the shipping labels, so you know when people are getting something, right?
Well, you'd think I would notice them more, like when I'll go and I'll send out 100 orders and I'm not reading them all.
Right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll miss stuff. There has been a few, um, really cool. I'm trying to think who was Allison Felix, her daughter, had on a shirt. That was huge. Like that went pretty
That's
nuts.
awesome.
Um, who else? I'm trying to like I don't know offhand, but like I've worked with Molly Huddle on we designed nail wraps together. That was fun. She's worn stuff. You know, was it Kristen McGee from Peloton?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
she rocks some stuff every once in a while, which whenever she puts on something, because everyone I'll start getting text messages and they're like, Did you see what she posted? And I was like, yeah, I saw.
That's awesome.
So there's a handful, yeah, out there. It's always like super cool too.
What's the most challenging part of running this business?
um, besides finding the time to do it all, it's it's hard to do all the things right now. Like as I've always said, so my youngest will go to kindergarten next year. So it's very hard to, like there's still little enough where I'm still mom and need to do a lot of the things. So right now I am trying it's balancing. Like I'm like right now I know we're going to after this I'm gonna go and I'm gonna probably stay at work and ship until probably 9-10 o'clock.
Oh, geez.
And then but after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, I'm taking a week off and I'm
Okay.
gonna hang out with my kids. So it's hard to figure out like like again with the kids are sick right now. I've got
Right.
like there's no one if they're sick at school, I have to go pick them up and that ruins my day. And then I got like it's shuffling all that around right now with the little kids. But in the it also clarifies what I need to do in the future to make this business continue to grow and make it worth it. Like, and as far as a time structuring of how it's going to go together, because it's crazy sometimes.
So do you have plans now to sort of grow it as far as employees, or are you like, I want to keep it as lean as possible?
So yes, I would like to, 2024, I have some plans on how I want to grow it. It was COVID switched things around a lot for me, like, which is why I'm printing everything in house now, is because I was having it printed and shipped from a warehouse, and it was difficult to get, apparel on time. And then there was, employees out there, and then it shifted a lot of stuff. So I've kind of figured out where I'm at now with these new structures I've got in place. And I find a lot of the pivots I make, it's because it's forced. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, we'll do that later. Oh, and then you're forced to do something. And then that's when you like make a giant step forward. So yeah, 2024, I've got some plans about like hopefully getting some more help in, some ideas of things I want to do with the business, and we'll see.
I mean, you've got it running so smoothly. I thought you probably had like a bigger team, like, so congrats on being able to handle what you're being able to handle.
I was going to ask how COVID impacted you and the business. It just sounds like it shifted things for you. Do you think it was like in a good way, or just it was what it was?
I think in a good way. It forced me to do a lot of things in-house. I was tie-dyeing stuff for like a summer. Also, remember the tie-dye craze?
Yeah.
Oh my God, tie-dye was nuts for me. That like kept my business alive. Also, but it was one of those things where it's like I figured out like I can do this on my own, or I can outsource this, and it it was a lot of work, but
I would have gone to a summer camp and been like, hey, I got an activity for your kids.
Yeah.
They're going to tie-dye shirts.
Do you know what? My kids would come home and be like, I want to tie-dye. I was like, no. I want tie-dye. No, it's funny. They helped do it a lot too. Like I'd be outside because it was great. It was the summer and the kids wanted to play outside.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I'm out here. And it just, people were buying it like crazy too. So,
when do you notice do you just kind of watch inventory to see like when a trend is shifting, or maybe tastes are changing? Is that how you can tell?
Yeah, like it's hard again, like it's hard to sometimes if to constantly be on social media and trying to see what's happening. So I feel like yes, I try and follow some of the trends, but I also don't want to be just a trendy t-shirt. So like there's a balance between trying to follow the trends, which I think is super fun and keeps it relevant. And I, think it's a fun way to do it. But I also want to offer like staples that, aren't just what, the latest Taylor Swift song is.
Yeah.
So
I really like your I guess it's world majors or city majors collections where you cleverly don't really mention where
it wasn't clever. It wasn't clever enough.
Oh, wasn't?
No.
Oh, what happened?
I did. It's no longer on my website.
All right, cease and desist. Oh, geez, all of them, or just like was one?
Oh, so there was a design that was, but there's the race ones.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. So there's somewhere a lot of people will request stuff. And I was like, I would love to help you out, but I can't. So I keep it to the city's name and try and keep it as generic as race or 26.2 as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's got to work around that.
Yeah. I thought you did a pretty good job. I guess they did too.
I try.
Yeah.
Okay. So you told us what the hardest part of this business is. What's maybe like the best or your favorite part?
Designing stuff. It's the fun part for me, I feel like it's my kids joke, they're like, you're working again. I was like, yeah, but I'm just kind of making stuff. So if I wasn't working, I'd probably be doing this anyways. It just happens to go on a t-shirt that I'm going to sell later. So I feel like that's, something I would be doing regardless. I feel like as a creative person, sometimes I feel like you need to create stuff, whether it's for yourself. It just happens to be that I get to sell some of my designs. It's also very fun, although I don't do as much running now as I used to, just because everything's so crazy. But you guys know it's a work event when I go cheer for New York City Marathon. It's a work event when I go to Disney to run. It's these things where it's like I love it so much, and it's also integrated into what I do for my job.
Do you sell into like local running stores? Are they buying, carrying inventory for you?
Somewhat. I used to do a lot more. I feel like the pandemic hurt a lot of my wholesale business. Some of the places never came back. I don't actively search out wholesale just because it's just a lot of work that I just haven't been able to. If someone asked me, yes, I sell wholesale, but that's for 2024. It's part of my plan. Like I would love to get back actively into doing wholesale stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. You didn't go to the running event in Austin this past
next year. So
okay.
Hopefully I'm going to make it.
All right. Yeah. Cause that is like the space where I think I'm like, how come she's not here? Like this would be the perfect spot for you.
And so it's hard for me too, because that falls into the mayhem of Black Friday.
And Thanksgiving and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And so again, it's one of those things too where, again, my kids are little, where as they get older, I feel more comfortable leaving for like a week to go to an event. So it's, that's part of as they grow up and, looking forward. So I am putting together stuff to do more wholesale coming up, but yeah.
I will tell you this, going to the running event is as exhausting as running almost.
Yeah,
it's almost like running
recap of it.
Yeah. Oh, geez. It's just so much like you're on your feet all day and
talking to people all day.
Energy out.
It's a lot. Yeah. I feel like it's also a lot for me who sits, behind a computer and does a lot of stuff where it's it's email and it's chat and it's I design here and I send stuff out. I was like, we'll go out. And I was like, oh, I need a day off. Just it's a lot. Yeah. I was like, it's also kind of nice to talk to someone who's above a 10-year-old, so.
I mean, because it is just you working by yourself a lot. Do you find do you have other social outlets, or do you find you really need that?
So I do. I surprisingly, which I never thought this about myself, but I guess I'm pretty introverted. I don't know. Which I didn't think I was until I decided to start a business, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just work from home, and this is kind of nice. I kind of like that. But yeah, it's a mix where it's I find it's extra exhausting if I'm already exhausted to go do stuff. but I always find when I get home, I'm so much more energized and inspired. So it's one of those things where I know, and my husband is great at this. He's like, he's always making plans, always doing stuff. So it's like, I feel like we're a nice balance because if it was up to me, I was like, I could just stay home and, sit on the couch and have a glass of wine and work on something new. And he's
Uh-huh.
like, let's go. We got plans. We got to do this. So I feel like it's a nice balance. And he forces me out sometimes because I have a tendency to, stay in.
I mean, the couch is nice.
Which is amazing.
I went to a football game this past weekend. Like I went to the stadium and I was like, I don't want to go back outside again. Like
It was also pouring rain.
it was,
and,
but the
like,
people were insane. I'm just like,
what game?
it was the Ravens versus the Rams.
Yeah.
So the football. And I was just like, the public is not for me. I like going to running events and that stuff, but like just general, like masses of people, it's frightening.
Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, couch.
So are you also doing, I'm assuming, because you're the person doing everything, the marketing, and like what sort of marketing do you do?
So for me, marketing is the fun part. That
Okay.
was one thing where it's like, if I could do more of it, I like mine right now. It's pretty basic where it's like, I, use social media. I run a few ads here and there, and then I do a lot through my email list. But other than that, it's like, I don't have much of a marketing plan. I don't, again, too, until I get to the point where I'm ready for more growth, I don't want to push too much behind it because then it just gets overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
it's pretty amazing that with social media and email and I mean, you're just putting a little bit, you said, behind paid social. That's pretty impressive for where you've gotten to as far as like, I don't think that there's anybody who's into running who wouldn't have, they may not know Sarah Marie Designs, but they would see a shirt or have recognized something that you've had. I can't imagine anybody in running who wouldn't.
it's pretty cool though, because and again too, like this is when I started, I was like, it seems like it's a business, like it's one of those things where it's like when I started it, again, it was one of those things where I was making stuff I couldn't find, and that makes me think that there was like a need for it. So that makes me happy.
Gap, yeah. Well, I mean, so when you started this 8 years ago, we talked about the start. You were in marketing before that. And marketing looked a little bit different back then. Like it was like, I feel like you took advantage of the shift that happened because before that, I mean, 8 years ago, you could also do like Facebook advertising where it's targeted to people that, you could really drill down where now they've kind of taken that away. I don't know if it's better or not, but like you coming from a traditional marketing agency, like did you teach yourself everything for the social media?
Yeah, so I remember when I was working in like the marketing department, we're like, we should be using these things. Like Instagram was just getting started, Twitter. I don't do much on Twitter, just I find or X now. But yeah, so I like it was one of those things where it was exciting and new. And so for me to do it as, I was doing it personally when I was running and like competing to be the Under Armour ambassador. So like I was utilizing it anyways. So to roll it over into like the business side of things, it like aligned perfectly and it was easy to get it all going. And it was fun too, like it like an emerging, new technology where like everyone's doing it and it felt much of a smaller community too. So, it was easy to talk to someone and then also I'd see them running in the park and, like
Wow.
it was cool like that. So it felt like a smaller community, which I feel like New York City is a lot too. You'd think New York City being so large that you would never know anyone or see anyone, but I feel like the running community is pretty tight there too. So it was fun. It was fun to do.
What did I just want to ask you about marketing? And now I forgot it. It'll come back to me. Anyway, so when you're running, are you a solo runner or do you have a group there? What does that look like? Solo
runner. I think it has a lot to do. I mean, it's a lot to do with my schedules and, like I'll run in between kids stuff or a lot of my running is commuting. So I will run the kids to school in the stroller. I'll run to work. So I find myself multitasking when it comes to almost
Yeah.
anything where, like I'm the mom who runs with 3 kids in a stroller.
Okay, I ran with one kid in a stroller, and it's tough. You can't breathe. Your arms don't swing. Like I hated running with the stroller. I thought when I first had my first kid, I was like, "This is gonna be amazing. I'll be able to run all over the place." And then I ran with a stroller. You're running with 3 kids in a stroller?
They are getting a little big for it now, but I will. Yeah, I trained for New York City with my oldest in the stroller. We would go
Oh,
out for like
wow.
18-20 mile runs.
Oh wow.
Lots. But also
Wow.
it was like it was the only way it could run. So it was either that or not.
Yeah. Okay, so like walk us through a typical day right now. I know there's probably no such thing as a typical day, but like what does that look like?
I'll do typical day, not today, because today was mayhem. So I usually wake up probably somewhere between 6:30, depending on what time I go to bed. I get my kids up at 7. So like usually I like coffee, pack their lunches. Kids wake up at 7. First bus pickup is at 7:40. Then I come back and get my youngest up, and then he's dropped off at school at 9. And usually from 9 I go into work. And then I'll work until, lately it's been, with the holidays, I'll work probably till like 6, depending on what day it is. There's gymnastics drop off, there's art class drop off. So there's like the window between 9 and like 5 or 6 is like a solid work time. Which I try to do this, I'll try and either take a lunch break and go for a run. I'm right by a park where I'm at, so it's like I can leave and do like a loop, and if I get 2 miles in, like it's okay. Or I'll try
It's a
and run.
victory.
What's that?
It's a victory.
Yeah, exactly. Or like if it's nice enough, I'll do like a run drop off in the morning. And then I come home, and then we do homework, and then I cook dinner, and then we do a whole bedtime routine. And then I sit up and usually work until about 11 o'clock. And then I shut down the computer and I wake up in 6 and I do it all again. So yeah.
I'm tired just hearing you talk about that.
That's on like a chaos-free day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meg is a pretty hard worker here, and I think you just impressed her. So
Yeah. Well, it's all the extra life things that it's hard.
Besides like the physical doing of the extra life thing, it is the mental load of being like, what are we going to do for dinner? And one person can't have nuts and the other person can't have nuts, and one person can't have chickpeas in their lunch, but this person can't have sesame seeds, but it's like it's exhausting.
Yeah.
With all of the different things that you have to just manage mentally. And that's really the tough part.
So when you take this week off after the holidays, what does that look like?
So when I say week off, I really mean that I'm going to plan out 2024
Okay.
and work on new designs. So we're probably going to go upstate. I know we're going to go upstate. We're going to go upstate for like, let's say Tuesday for maybe 4 or 5 days. I'm going to see my parents, so I'm very excited about that. We will probably do some skiing, and hang out. And I like to also use this time, like I'll use it to help plan out what I want to accomplish in 2024. It's hard to like have a solid amount of time to sit down and like write things down and plan. So if I can schedule, some time, which I say this and I know it's not going to happen because, there's always a lot,
just
but
doesn't.
like, yeah. But like having something where I reflect a little bit and plan out the future is what I really want to do. And that's kind of the plan. So that's the break. It's a lot of family time.
Do your parents still have the sheep farm?
They do. Yes.
Oh, wow.
There's not as many sheep because all of the daughters have got married and left the farm, but there are some grandkids around, and there's always a farm to go home to.
All right, you said 5 daughters. I'm guessing there's no boy in there.
Nope, 5 daughters, only girls.
So they were going.
Everyone's like, "Oh my God, how did your father survive?"
Well, I'm just curious, like when they found out, okay, it's gonna be the 5th girl. Like, is your dad like, all right?
It's like
That's a lot of.
they always found out that it was like they do the gender reveals party. Like gender reveals are like in the hospital. No
Oh,
hints,
wow.
facts. You gotta like, there's another daughter. Here you go.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
that's crazy.
Where did you fall in line?
I was
What
the second.
number? Okay.
Yeah.
Are any of your sisters entrepreneurial? It's kind of, I always find that when there's one in the family, there's usually more than one.
So I am the only one who has like a business like this. I think they're all very entrepreneurial minded. Um, so yeah, I think as a mindset, yeah, they're all, you know, I feel like a little bit crazy. You have to be. So they are, but yeah. So, but it was
Uh,
like, like I watched my parents, my dad has his own business as well. So like I watched my parents work and build their business together too. And then my husband also has his own business. So it's like, I don't know if it's, I gravitate towards these people as well, or it's just like I've been trained to be this way, but here we are.
I mean, we get it. Like, it's the same thing that, we've done is built a business together.
Mhm.
But the nice thing is, since I'm not the brightest, that Meg, I could lean on her real hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is nice.
I
The
do
employee,
go.
I need someone to lean on. Come on
Yeah.
over.
That's I go back to that because I'm like, you're doing this all on your own, and that's like, it's so admirable because I can't imagine trying to do this without someone to be like, is this a good idea? Like to run things by. Like, do you ask your husband, or do you have someone that you can be like, what do you think?
Yeah, I talked to Erica Sarah Design,
Oh yeah.
Ah, yeah, I know Erica.
She is like, before I texted you, I was like, or before I got on this call, I was like, I have a sick kid puking. I have one I gotta go get, like, I was like, I texted her, I was like, I need to vent and start. Like, she's like, okay, you got this. And I was like, so, I think it's important to have, it might not be someone I directly, work with. Like I don't have
Yeah.
a partner, but like I have people in my support community. And I've got
Yeah.
a friend who lives down the street who's watching my youngest right now, because the older one can sit and like hang out by himself. The younger one would be in and out and be like, hey,
Yeah.
mom. But like I do have a network of people who are there to support me. And I feel like that makes a huge difference.
So when you talk about going back, so Erica, I met through Daily Mile. I don't know if you remember Daily Mile.
Barely.
Okay, yeah. it was. I met her and Laura, who's now at Rabbit, on Daily Mile. Like it was the first running social.
Yeah, it was a while.
Like,
was she
yeah,
in
network.
New York City still? She must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were both in New York. As a matter of fact, I came in, I was like visiting New York, and I was like, hey, let's go for a run. I met them both and did a run in Central Park with them. It was like
fun.
And this was like early on, like Facebook was still hopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she reached out to me. I was doing drawings like way back when, like before it was like the business was the business. And she, honestly, I don't think if she reached out to me, I don't know if I would have started this whole thing, but she reached out and was like, these drawings are really cool. Can I engrave them? And I thought, I was like, really? Okay. And so that too was like a little, like there's little nudges that are like, you should do this. And that was a big one for me. And so, like we've been friends ever since. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have, Megan has her badass ring. Do you have a badass ring?
I think I have a similar one. I've got the run one, and then I've got ones that say my kid's name. I got a bunch of her stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Hey, speaking of the creative stuff, I'm guessing you don't have time to read, but like I do audiobooks.
Yeah.
As well. I gotta recommend, if you can get it, if you are into it, I think you'd really dig Rick Rubin's The Creative Mind.
You
book.
mentioned this on another podcast, and I'm reading it now.
I love it.
Yeah, I just started it. I lost my
Yeah.
headphones.
Oh no.
They came in the mail. I was like, I cannot function because like between everything, I was like, I haven't sat down and read a book in so long, and I've tried, and I get like 3 chapters in, it's impossible. And so between running, between driving kids around, between packing orders is a mindless enough task where, or folding shirts, whatever it is,
Yeah.
I'm constantly consuming some sort of either audiobook or podcast. And so, yeah, I have it. I've started it. And then I
Okay.
lost my headphones and now I've got them back. So I'll let you
Okay,
know.
good. I just feel as a creative person, you know how you have kind of like flows, like where you feel really creative, and then there's other times where you're like, I'm the worst. I'll never get back to it.
Yeah, I know that pretty well too well.
Yeah, he kind of it. There's some really good gems in the book that make you feel comfortable with the being creative and how that process goes. So anybody who enjoys it, and it's not just visual artists or musicians. I think really anybody in any creative space.
Yeah.
Could
And
benefit
it's
from
funny because like there'll be times where I was like, I've got stuff coming up, and a lot of my stuff too is like around races or events. And I was like, I have to get this design done for the holidays. And I was like, I just can't do it. And then there's other times where I was like, I sit down and I was like, no one can talk to me. I don't sleep. I'm like, I got 17 ideas, and if I don't get them out now, they'll never come out. And so it's funny because it's like it's so like high or low, and it's like a lot of times too where I find myself frustrated, or like my thoughts are like I find running helps so much with that, where it just like focuses stuff, and it like I don't know how else to explain it, where it's like it just helps me be creative because it sorts out my thoughts.
Yeah, it's that blood flowing through the brain, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Gets it going. Yeah, I mean I have a commute with my kids. It takes me about an hour.
Mhm.
So half an hour to drop them off and a half an hour to get back. And that's where I do a lot of my audio books there. But yeah.
What else are you listening to?
Right now, well, I do, I mean, I don't know because I haven't had my headphones for 2 weeks. I listen to, if you guys don't know, there's the Libby app. It's the library app. So if you listen to audiobooks, you take your library card and you can get free books from the library, and they have so many audible. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I was spending a fortune buying books. And I was like, so I don't know how I found this, but it was like, you go, like, you have to have a library card and put your number in, and you can search. They have a lot, like, they have like Britney Spears' new book. I did just listen to that.
Nice.
But like that's in the you can rent it. There's a huge queue for it right now, but there's so many, they've got so many great books.
Wait, if it's digital, why is there a line for it?
Well, there's only so many copies. I feel like it's got to be a
licensing.
Yeah, so like they get so many, royalties from every.
Wait, did Brittany read her own book?
No, Michelle Williams.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I
they
forgot.
Did that whole
Yeah,
thing. The that's crazy because I do have an Audible account and I can't keep up. Like, it can't keep up with.
Yeah, I was and then I listen to everything at 1.2 or 1.5, depending on how fast the person reads. And so I'm going through like 2 books a day, and I was like, I gotta stop this. I can't.
Maybe I should speed him up. I'm going at normal pace with 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah, having 3 cups of coffee and reading it at 1.3.
Let's get that going. I got shirts to print.
Yeah, very busy over here. I gotta get to it.
That's awesome.
Do you ever do like collabs with people or?
I have been. I would love to do more. That's one. Like I've got a few things in the works. I have done stuff in the past. It's just again like it's a lot. The difficulty for me right now is keeping up with like communications. So like again, like before this, I had an hour and a half call, with my kid's school, and there's there's all of these other things that's like I don't want to start something if I can't dedicate the proper amount of time to it.
Yeah.
So I do have a few things in the works. I would love to do stuff. Like I'd love to whether do it's collabs. I'd love to do like design competition type things where it's like people submit stuff. I think that'd be so fun as a community.
Yeah.
Like have, and it, like my stuff is like the things I put together. I'd love to have other people's input to like different points of view. I think that'd be so fun. So I've got like ideas and stuff I want to work on, but yeah, collabs are something I have done a little bit in the past, but I would very much like to do more of.
Yeah, I would think that you get reached like, I'm guessing that like race directors or, other people have come to try to do like hey, I need a shirt for my event. Really?
No,
they're not smart.
No.
Are people constantly like sending you like, here, I have this idea. You should make this design.
Yeah.
Do you like that or do you hate that?
So it's hard because some of them I like. A lot of times it's like if people want certain races or, like if there's I keep a queue of like suggestions, and if I get something multiple times, I'll be like, okay, this is something that like it is as a collective, people are going to want to see. It's hard because I have, like I like my notes section. You like scroll, like these are all my ideas, and I'm like scroll. I was like, I've got 500 ideas that I can't work through of my own, and then there's like another list of people's suggestions. So it's like I keep notes of it, and if I can make stuff happen or it may spark an idea, and I try and get feedback, but it's hard for me to act on all of it. So like I hate when people reach out, and I was like, I would love to, but I can't.
Yeah.
What's the worst suggestion you have if it's not somebody asking you to make a shirt that says, "I thought you said rum"?
26.3 would be crazy. I don't know if there's a worst one.
I think you could do a whole Kira D'Amato Strava.
Yeah.
The Strava one.
Oh my God. I don't know that reference.
Okay. Kira D'Amato does a pun on every post on Strava.
Like every workout she titles a joke or a pun or some sort of
my God.
funny thing.
We're on Strava, and now I'm going to get involved in this. And
there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Strava in itself is a whole like
world of stuff
of content that you could use.
Yeah, but I don't want to be the person giving her bad ideas.
True. Sorry, we're the problem.
Well, I used to use Strava like when I was training, for stuff. Now that I haven't been, it goes on and I use it just to track my miles, but I'm like not actively using it. Yeah. I have to get back into it.
I mean, really, just check out Kira. She's like the only entertaining thing on there. Okay. Yeah. Like every day. And some of the jokes, I love you, Kira, but some of the jokes are really bad. I think she knows, but she's got to come up with one every day. So,
right. And then,
but some
like at the bottom, you're like digging for something. Like, sometimes you just gotta, and that's like, she's got to read that book.
Like there's a lot of dad jokes. There's a lot of like those ones like, but they are fantastic, and it makes going to Strava worth the trip.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to get involved.
Speaking of Strava and running, and since we're big shoe nerds, we have to ask what's your favorite daily trainer? Like, what are you running in?
Right now I'm in the Saucony Kinvara.
Oh wow.
Them. Yeah.
So you're not a super cush person.
No, I'm not. I also am like doing low mileage. Like I'm not going out and training for a marathon right now. I like it. And what was the shoe I used to love before? I still have like Mizuno did something, and I was like, I can't remember what it was. It was like the Elixir or something. It was like a decade ago. And I remember I loved this shoe so much. I had like 13 of them.
There was like the Sayonara was really good. I liked this. An older model was the Sayonara.
What did you race New York in?
I don't know if I remember. What did I have? Oh my God, my brain has been filled up with other things. I don't remember. Yeah. But like, this is the first shoe that I felt like, I'm like, this might be a 13 pair shoe for me. So
the Kinvara?
Yeah, I really like it.
Wow.
And I've had previous models before, and they weren't for me, but this one I like.
The Kinvara used to be my favorite before the foams all changed. That was like my jam.
Yeah.
And now I think that I've gotten older and I like a little bit more cushion, but I still enjoy the Kinvara on like a crisp fall day, like kicking it out.
Wow.
And are you exclusively wearing your clothing all the time?
You know what? Yes. I feel
We're wearing it too.
Yeah, I feel like if I buy something and come home with something that's not mine, my husband's be like, "Why?
Yeah.
Why would you buy it? Like, you have enough here. We have a space that we're renting to put more of your stuff in. Why would you add to this?" But like a lot of my stuff isn't technical apparel, so I do have some stuff coming where it's like, now I've got some actually leggings that are coming out, and we've got shorts. Wow. Like I'm getting a little.
I was gonna say tights have got to be on the schedule.
What's that? Yeah, tights.
Tights have got to be on the schedule.
But so like it's For yes, I wear it. And a lot of times too, it'll be like things that are slightly misprinted or it'll have a hole. And so like that goes home with me. And my apparel is all a lot of rejects too.
That's fine.
Good stuff.
Registration's off.
Yeah.
I made my daughter's Halloween costume out of discarded apparel. Like things that were misprinted. She wanted to be, I don't know if you guys remember like the Fry Guys from
yeah. All the little like if you
the pom-pom looking things.
Yeah.
So I was Grimace. My husband was
Alright.
Lady Burglar, and she wanted to be a blue Fry Guy. So it was right around the time of Chicago Marathon. So anything that was royal blue that was misprinted, I came home, I cut it all into strips.
shredded it. Yeah.
Like I sewed it all onto a
Nice.
sweatshirt. So I was like, try and be as least wasteful as possible around here. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. She's even making Halloween costumes.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love it.
You got to calm down.
Gotta do less.
I was like, can we just buy you one? She's like, no, Mom. I mean, it was like, if there was a Fry Guy costume out there, I might have purchased it, but I could not find one. So
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I know you have your 2024 planning to do in a few weeks, but let's say like perfect world scenario, dream scenario, where do you see the company going?
Let's see. I would love, like internally for me, I'd love to, get some people to help. It's a lot. So having a few more people and someone to help run the day to day would be amazing. And that's, for 2024 is a big part of that. And it'll also free me up to do more things, like I haven't, I went into the cheer for the New York City Marathon. I had so much fun. And that's easy because it's a trip on the train for me, but to do some of the things like the running event and go to Boston Marathon, Chicago, and start doing things again in person, even expos would be amazing. But to do that, I have to, have a little more help. So that's one of the things. But just like expanding and growing, it's hard again too, like not having a history in e-commerce or apparel. It's, figuring this out as I go. So, planning and having, help would be great. And then just growing my collection, bringing in new products, and then getting back into wholesale. Those are like my big goals for upcoming. And hopefully it's around for a long time, like
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, my mom started a running company once and
Like
shirts.
I would love it. Like I try to talk to my boys. I'm like, this is a pretty good gig, man.
Yeah.
You might want to start running.
Yeah. So that's and I think about it too. It's like one of those things where I've worked so hard up until this point. Like you can't turn around. Like
Yeah.
put so much work into it. It's got to keep going forward.
Yeah. No, it's incredible what you've done, and the fact that it's been you, and you went through the pandemic, and you've just created this awesome company. So congrats to you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, Sarah Clancy Design.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been exhausting.
All right. So where can people follow along, see the designs? Is it the best place on Instagram, or where's your favorite place to interact with the public?
Instagram, yes. It has been Instagram traditionally, yes. So Sarah Marie Running Co. on Instagram. It's the same on Facebook and same on Pinterest. And I don't know, it's on TikTok, but I haven't really used that because I don't know on TikTok actually. But maybe
the place is wild
because you're gonna have to lip sync.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start dancing in your clothes.
I'm like I'm at max capacity for like my creative outlet right now. Like, maybe in a few months I'll start dancing on TikTok, but I can't do it anymore.
Gary V keeps saying you got to be on TikTok, and I'm like, I can't.
It's too much.
I know. There's only so many hours in the day, and then everything's like omni-channel. I was like, I can't take one more channel.
Yeah.
And then sarahmarie.run is the website as well. So
all
that's
right.
sarahmarie.run.
And if you're looking for, when is this coming out?
Probably not this Monday, but the following.
Okay, if you want to make her work really hard getting stuff out, shipping for holiday presents, it's the time to do it.
Yay! So it'll be right around when I come back from break. I'll just have a billion orders to ship.
There you go.
That would be great. Yeah.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you originally started mostly with women's clothing, And now you have some stuff for men. But yeah, it's definitely a spot if you have a runner in the family.
It's all really
you're probably
fun stuff.
listening to this if you're.
Yeah.
You wouldn't listen to this, I don't think, if you weren't a runner. But yeah, go check it out. See if there's some stuff.
And thank you, Sarah, so much for taking time out of your very, 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 very busy day. We very much appreciate it.
This is really fun. It's a nice break from my day to day. So I appreciate it.
Okay, good.
All right, get back to work.